Hello guys, welcome to another driving test video. So this was a driving test at Bromley Driving Test Center on Friday the 16th of February 2024. Unfortunately, I actually do not have the side camera view for this test because I misplaced it. I think I deleted it by mistake. Thought I was deleting something else, so we're going to manage without that for this video. But I'm going to be explaining as usual anyways. But the good thing is that on this test I actually was in the car sitting behind on this test because the learner chose to take me along, even though I'm not a fan of it because it's nerve-wracking. I'm sure you probably assume, you know already why that would be. So, but anyway, so these tests didn't go as well as I hoped they would, and ended up with me getting blamed for some of the mistake by the learner anyways. And if you haven't watched, I posted a video about that previously. But anyways, when we get there, I would discuss about that. So there was two serious faults on this test and a couple of minor faults. But I remember three of them which were for the same thing. So they were for undue hesitation, and that is what the learner actually apportioned that blame on me for. So I was blamed for that one, which again we'll talk about it when we get there. So two serious faults. One was observation and the other one was for signal. And when we get to that point as well, I would point it out. And the other minor faults were undue hesitation, as I said. And the examiner actually pointed out that if the learner had done that one more time, that would have been a serious fault. And I'm emphasizing that because I have mentioned this couple of times now in previous videos that it's becoming a very common thing that examiners are taking this more serious, that when learners get minor faults repeatedly on the same thing more than 3 times, you get a fail for it. Because previously, like say before COVID, it wasn't a thing. I've seen learners that had 4 minor faults and they've actually gone ahead and passed. But since the last year, I've been seeing people failing even for 3 minor faults. I've had learners who's come to me that they failed for signals for at roundabout. So signaling was too late at 3 separate occasions, and that was a fail. So this is why I'm explaining and emphasizing this. So if you've got a habit that is a minor fault that you're repeatedly doing, don't get used to it and relax on it. Try and work on that so that that doesn't fail you on your test, even when you didn't get a serious fault. But doing that 4 times, or in some cases like I've seen 3 times, could end you in a serious fault. So yep, that is it. So let's see how it goes. So remember this junction, don't rush yourself, do good observation, and when a good chance comes, take advantage of it, take it safely. And remember, if the road is very busy, then you might have to bring in your plan B. If the junction is safe from your right and there's no one coming to turn into the road you're sitting on from your left, then go halfway into the road and then wait for traffic coming from your left. Eventually at that point, someone is more likely to give you way, so then you can take it when it's safe. Now remember, if the car is now approaching from your right after you've gotten to that point, it is not a problem. Don't worry too much about it and push yourself. Once you've done that when it was safe, there was no one approaching, when they get there at that point, they would hold back and wait for you. So relax and pay more attention to your left at that point. So yep, we are still waiting here to turn. So, just to explain to you briefly on what I mentioned earlier on that I was blamed for. Now, this is a matter of junction. So, the problem here is that the learner is often taking wrong opportunities at the junction. So, these are cases where, for example, there is a vehicle coming from your right when you're trying to turn right. But fair enough, the car is far away. But what the learner is missing in many of these cases is the speed at which they're traveling at. And when this happens and you're about to take such an opportunity, I have to come in and stop you because that would not be safe. Now, keep in mind that in any of such situation where you go out of a junction and oncoming traffic from either your left or right, on the main road have to then slow down because of that decision you make, that is most likely going to be a serious fault. And if you're lucky enough, maybe a minor. But in many cases, that would be a serious fault. So, and it's just normal. So this has happened many times, many times actually. So that's why in this case, even on the morning of the test, funny enough, that happened as well. And I stopped the car. So I used my brake and stopped the car. So eventually when the test ended and we ended up with 3 minor faults for undue hesitation, it was very easy, obviously, for me to be blamed by the learner for that situation. And yeah. So here we are approaching the second roundabout, and at this roundabout we're taking the first exit left. And just ahead of us, the learner is coming to pull up on the left, and as you would see here, we did mount the curb a little bit, but again, not too much of a big deal to worry about. In this case, if you're not driving too fast, obviously it becomes dangerous. Many examiners do give a minor fault for this, if of course your speed is reasonable enough that this is not something to worry about. But again, practice and try and be better at pulling up on the left so that you can avoid hitting the curbs. But then if you ask me though, I actually thought that was going to be a serious fault because the speed could have been slower first. And second thing is that getting over that curb got us very close to that tree in front. And I was actually more worried about the tree than the pavement. So this again shows you a lot of the times that examiners are actually a lot more lenient than your instructors would normally be, which should be that way, to be honest, because if your instructors are much more lenient there, you could expect doing your test over and over again because you never know what the examiner might be like, and you'd rather have a strict instructor and a lenient examiner than a lenient instructor and a strict examiner. So yeah. And up ahead is another roundabout, and at this roundabout you would realize that we did hesitate considering the amount of time it took before the van actually appeared into the camera. So here now we have stopped, and let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 seconds later, after she stopped the car, the van appears. Now imagine if we actually didn't stop in the first place. We would have gone through that in less than 2 seconds, which means that would have been safe. So yeah. And on this narrow road, the examiner at one point prompted the learner to actually make a little bit more progress because the car started to get quite too slow due to cautiousness of the space and the closeness of other vehicles, which, yes, from my own perspective as well, yeah, it was quite too slow at some point, so that was a fair one. But examiner didn't give a fault for that. It was just, a friendly prompt to move on. And just in case you have forgotten, remember I was actually sitting in the back seat during this test. And on this road is where we get the first serious fault. So upon turning into this road, examiner gave an instruction to pull up on the left, which is what you see here. Now what happens next is that as the learner move off from this position, she moves on, of course, signaling right to move off. But then when she moved on, she forgets to turn the signal off. Sorry, let me rephrase that. She tries to turn the signal off. That's what happened, sorry. She tries to turn the signal off, but pushed the signal too heavily, and now we've engaged the left signal. So the left signal remains on, and I could clearly hear the signal ticking, tick tock, and I was praying, please, in my mind, I was hoping, please hear the signal, turn it off. But unfortunately, the learner did not react to that signal, and then that continued ticking off as they passed this road on the left, and it's now clear that the learner is not going to do anything about that until it's probably too late. So examiner comes in at that point to ask the learner to turn that signal off because of the roundabout coming up ahead. And at that point I knew we got a serious fault. And at this point, we are now approaching the roundabout, which is where we start adding up our undue hesitation. So here we are approaching the roundabout, and as we get here now, you would realize that the right was actually clear. So quick brief look there was nothing from the right, and we should have just gone through. But the learner was still waiting. So if we count how many seconds it took this red car, now the red car has gone through and we're still waiting. And the truck man is patiently waiting for us to go before this bus, and we wasted the opportunity as well, and we kept waiting. So that extended our wait at this roundabout as we continue to wait here again, and this learner car comes through again. So let's see if we take the next one. So not good clearly, so we're still waiting. Okay, so these are clearly not safe opportunities. Now remember that when you have opportunities like this or situations like this, when a car is turning right from your left, then that might give you an opportunity. So here we finally have an opportunity, even though that was again taken with a little bit of uncertainty. So clearly there. It's like when situations like this happens, it's like the learners are waiting for the cars on the left to stop. That's not gonna happen. You actually have to commit yourself. They would stop once they see you making the move. But if you sit there, they would just keep going. Hence why the examiner was actually thanking the truck driver for waiting. But yes, so as you can see there, we had the minor fault there. And in no way would I be telling a learner or anyone at that point to be waiting for such a long time when the opportunity was clear. And I wouldn't wait for such. No, it's impossible. So but anyways, this is it. So we got that first minor fault there. Considering, remember, we had one or so at the other roundabout that the examiner actually, I believe, if I remember, wasn't faulted, so he didn't fault that one. But that was still a situation there. So yeah. Up ahead, there was a situation. So there was traffic ahead of us, and there was a bus lane on the left. Now, knowing at this point that temper was rising, the examiner could see the face of the learner that, she was now very anxious, obviously, with the situation at the roundabout and the signal. So she was now actually even more anxious, and that could show from the driving. So he actually came in very positively to encourage her, because she did take a decision here, which was a little bit of a gamble, I would say. Be very careful if you're taking such. So here we have the bus lane on the left, and we have the right lane, so which is where the traffic is. So the learner chooses to then go into the bus lane, but never thought of how to get back out of it, because at this point the examiner had already given instruction that we're turning right on, I mean, at the traffic light. So knowing that, I don't think I would have come into this bus lane as an inexperienced driver, by the way. But if I was experienced in my own situation, if I was driving, yes, clearly I would have taken that decision, which the examiner came in and actually gave a good comment for that decision. He mentioned clearly that since the lane was open and no one was using it, and you recognized that that was open and you took it, that was a very good move. So he did that to try and boost our confidence in that. But then we had a problem here. So problem was getting back into the right lane, and that was a little bit, I mean, you would need to be in the car to realize how that went, but that didn't go too well, because we're now on this yellow box and we've got this traffic on our right, and once you pass the yellow box, you can't get back to turn right, so you just have to go straight or turn left. So if you were in the car, you'd see the examiner looking over the shoulder to see when someone gives way, and you would see me to discreetly looking over my shoulder as well to see what's going on. It was just not the best I would want any learner to be in on the test. But anyways, eventually, a good and a nice driver just on our shoulder on the right gave us way, and the examiner had to, verbally again another friendly prompt to just tell the learner, yeah, you take it, you've got way. They've given you way. So then, and he continued to, encourage the learner, that was a very good attempt, actually disregarding, the struggle to come back into the right, which I would say, kudos to the examiner. That was a very good, very thoughtful thing to do there, to try and help try to help the learner keep calm and continue the test. So that was a very positive one, and I really was glad I was in there, because these are things you never get to see or hear when they come back on test. Of course, some learners would mention that, but many of the times, especially when people fail, they miss out that part that my examiner was actually very good and helpful. So yeah, I was glad I was there to witness that. The examiner was really good there. So yeah, we eventually come through and got to this point. So we've come past the yellow box safely. There was no other serious fault. So yeah. Now, at this traffic light, if you are coming through here, please don't get as forward as the learner did here. This is not good because another examiner might just give you a fault for that. If that road was busy and there was more traffic going straight, and they all have to be driving around you. So if you notice here, we kept pushing and pushing. Please just stay put and wait for the road to be clear for you to go, and then you can proceed. See, this is too far in. As you can see, that last car there really had to swing a bend to get through around us. But again, examiner, I presume, again, let go of that, considering he was still trying to, brighten the day as we continued through that initial situation. So please be aware of that. Stop about the middle of the road and wait. And at the traffic light ahead, we are turning right. Now keep in mind that it's going to be 3 lanes just as we pass the bend. Middle lane and the right lane goes right, and then left lane is left only. So if you're taking this decision here, please just use the middle lane. So like here, the learner drove, crossed the line, and went all the way into the right lane. And even the examiner didn't feel safe with that because I could see him looking over his shoulder while she did that. And I was doing the same thing as well, because that was not necessary. Second thing is, the middle lane had more space anyways than the right lane. But keep that in mind. If there are 2 lanes going to the same direction and the left is open, your normal driving lane is the left anyways. But I know that the mistake most people would always make here is the minute you hear right, you're turning right ahead, you're already thinking, oh yeah, you need to go into the right lane. So at that point, you already nailed your mindset into getting into the right lane. That even when you see the floor marking, you're actually not reacting to that floor marking. So which is a fair reason why many people do this. But don't forget, this is why you gotta look out, look on the floor, relax, stay calm, so that you're actually communicating what your eyes is picking up. Because a lot of the times learners are driving with their mind. I feel like this, I feel like that. But how do you get through that feeling? It's actually by seeing. So you go, if you feel like you're too close to pavement, why don't you just look at the mirror and see in reality how close are you actually are to that pavement? Because in many cases, it is actually the fact that you are far from that pavement. You're just reacting to your feeling that tells you you're very close. Hence why some people turn left and, leave a big wide gap on the left to the pavement while getting over the line in the middle of the road. So yeah, so keep this in mind. But again, I don't know, I just say the examiner was very generous. Again, didn't react to that because even the learner, the way that was done was not good. I would have given a fault there, definitely. Like in about 2 situations before changing that lane, she wasn't sure. She kept looking at the mirror and she kept checking over her shoulder. And there was a point where she actually turned her head and looking from the back mirror, looking from the back window for more than 2 seconds, about 3 seconds or good 4 seconds. Lucky thing there was she was slowing down, which still wasn't good because if the car in front had braked sooner, then she would have had a bigger problem to deal with. So please keep this in mind. You can't be looking over your shoulder like if you're just about moving off from a stop position, like we're actually moving. So looking over your shoulder for that long is not safe. So keep this in mind. And up ahead again, we are coming to turn right just at VW dealership. And the examiner also mentioned the hesitation there again, because as we're coming to that point of turn, clearly the van ahead was far enough for us to have actually just continued and take that turn. So right here, as you can see. But then again, we came and we stopped. We could have just gone through it safely. So these are, the situations I'm talking about. And examiner gave another minor fault there. So that, I believe, made the third one. And the examiner mentioned at the end that if she had done, or say, one more undue hesitation, that would have actually then become a serious fault. So I want you to keep this in mind. Don't feel like you can just keep doing a repeated minor faults on the same thing and get away, because examiners are taking it much more serious now than they used to before, because obviously people are just coming back for tests after failing and not working on things, and that is not helping to cut down the amount of the demand on tests, and also it's making the time for how long you have to wait before getting a test more difficult. So yeah, but because of that anyway, so keep this in mind. Things that you would have gone away with before is now, something that you wouldn't. So yeah, and on this road, we are coming to pull up on the right and in reverse to car length, which means you're not going to be doing parking if you get this on your test. So yes, and we got another serious fault there. So I'll just explain that now. So what happened there was that the learner pulled up on the right, and as she started to reverse, before that reverse, she did an all-round check, which was fine. But as she started to move on now, she was more focused on the pavement using the right mirror and also looking through the camera in the car, so the reverse camera. And I've mentioned this before, you've got to keep in mind, don't you can use the camera, that's totally fine, because it's a feature in your car, and it's good if you use it and you can show an examiner that you can use it safely. So there's nothing wrong with you using a reverse camera in your car, but you've also got to, it's an assistant, right? So you've got to use it alongside you actually looking around, because the camera doesn't pick up everything around you. So hence why you've got to look over your shoulder. Driveways on your left as you reverse on the right hand side of the road, that's not going to be picked up by the camera. So you've got to know this. So you're not looking there at all means you actually do not understand that you have a potential hazard that could be coming from that side. So surprisingly to the learner, she got a serious fault there for observation, and she couldn't believe it after we finished that. Hold on, I thought I was looking enough. I'm like, no. So this is a problem. So luckily again, I was in the car, because Zelena, in her own opinion, said she looked enough, and I disagree with that, because I could see it as well. So yeah, that serious fault was fair. And another thing to point out here is, because I do often say this a lot, that because there is no situation, or there was no one that was affected by something you did or something you did not do, doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot be given a serious fault for it. And this was a good example. So nothing went wrong. She did the reversing fine. No one was obstructed or anything like that. But the fact still remained that she wasn't checking enough. Like it wasn't enough, the amount of checks she did to the left, which to an examiner means, if you've shown me that at this point, that means if you were to do this in a more busier situation, that's what you would have done. So that is literally the statement. That's what you're putting through. So you're literally saying, because you only have 30 minutes with me, and whatever you give me in that 30 minutes is what I'm going to assume that you would continue to do. So keep this in mind. So this is it. As you can see, she's reversing there, and right there she has just finished. There was nothing, nothing happened, but she still got a serious fault. So even if she didn't fail for that signal, she would have failed at this point, unfortunately. So yeah, that was the last serious fault for this test. So let's continue and watch the rest of it. So test is coming to an end soon anyway, so we're heading back to the test center at this point. All right, so on the 1st of March 2024, so which was just over a week ago, the learner retook the test after this sad fail, which I was blamed. So the learner retook that test, and this time around chose to do things in her way, in terms of, you know, how long she waited at the junctions. And this time around, unfortunately, it was another fail, and a worse one than this one. And this time around, I wasn't to blame because obviously it wasn't done in my way actually. So, and the examiner was to blame at this point, and that video is going to be coming next. So yes, and please, this is actually going to be a very interesting one because it's something you do not want to do to your examiner. Definitely not for any reason. So yeah, that's going to be the next one I'll be posting. So that'll be the second attempt. So the reattempt from this learner on the test at the same actually not at the same test center. It was at West Wickham this time around, and the examiner had a taste of what I had on this test, unfortunately. So yeah, but anyway, so this is the end of the test now, so we're coming to the end. Don't forget, please, if you find these videos useful, don't forget, leave a like, comment below if you've got any questions, and I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel if you still haven't done that yet. And if you'd like to, you know, support the channel financially, you want to contribute some token to the channel, then don't forget there is a thanks icon on the bottom of the video, like a heart or like a heart icon just there, like super thanks icon. So please, you can click that to actually contribute to the channel if you want to. Now remember, nothing is too small. £1, £2, £3, anything would really help the channel. So that is it, girls and boys, ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, uncles and aunties. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a wonderful Mother's Day weekend, and stay blessed, and best of luck with your test if you're having your test before the next video. So take care, one love, peace.